So what they find now, psychologists, what they've discovered is that if you look at basically all the mental health challenges, all the questions that someone might ask, how do I overcome depression? How do I overcome my anxiety? How do I stop the panic attacks? How do I heal from my trauma? Do you know that all of these questions have the same answer? This is going to blow your mind. I hope you're ready. Do you know what the answer to all these questions is? You have to feel your pain. You have to feel your pain. And only after you feel your pain can you release your pain. Isn't that deep? The eyes shed tears, and the heart feels grief, but the tongue does not utter except what is pleasing to Allah. This is the only way to really have sabr. The only way. See, what He's giving us, so deep, is a formula. He's actually giving us a formula. And part of it is the eyes shed tears and the heart feels grief. Meaning, you are going through the process of experiencing the grief so that you can release it. Because if you don't, it just gets stuck. And that is what causes these different problems. Let me give you an example. You want an example? I'm all about the metaphors. So imagine you take a slice of cheesecake. How many people like cheesecake? Okay. I don't know if you've ever tasted cheesecake. I mean, how can you not like cheesecake? You take a slice of cheesecake, and instead of eating it, you put it inside your purse. Your, $40,000 purse. And then you zip it up. And you say, what cheesecake? Right? What cheesecake? It's in your purse. So you don't see it. So that means it disappears, right? Right? Yes? No. Have you ever put cheesecake in a purse and it disappeared? It doesn't disappear, folks. See, this is step number one. Rule number one, it doesn't disappear. What happens to that cheesecake in your Chanel purse after a week? After a month? After a year? What's happened? What happens to that cheesecake after 10 years? Anyone? Yeah, exactly. What happens to it? It isn't cheesecake anymore. It's alive. Literally. It is alive, and if you were to eat it, it would kill you. It's poison. Oh my God, that was intense. It's poison. Many of us, we take our pain, we take our trauma, we take our negative emotions and we don't want to process, we don't want to deal with, we don't want to digest, and we stick it in a purse and we zip it up and we say, it's gone, I don't see it. But it's not gone, and it is fermenting. Do you understand? It's rotting. It's turning poison. And many of us are walking around with this unprocessed trauma, unprocessed emotion, unprocessed, unreleased pain. Everyone will experience pain. But if you don't deal with it in the right way, it can kill you. It can make you sick in more ways than one. Not only mentally sick, also physically sick. This is one of the reasons we get sick, physically as well. This is the reason we get things like cancer sometimes. This is the reason we have ulcers. This is the reason we have digestive problems, migraines. All of this is connected to Because you realize our body is connected. You can't say, no, it's in the purse. It's not my problem. So here is our issue. Many of us actually think this is sabr. Are you with me? We think that the cheesecake locked in the purse is our sabr. But it's poisonous. Remember, the eyes shed tears and the heart feels the grief. Is feeling the pain, isn't suppressing the pain, isn't putting it away in a drawer and locking it up and saying, what pain? What cheesecake? Because that cheesecake doesn't disappear, and I'll tell you how it shows up. It will show up in your relationships. It will show up in your self-talk, the way you talk to yourself. It will show up in how you parent your child. Because if you have trauma that you haven't dealt with, this is how we pass it on to the next generation. How many of you have heard of the term generational trauma? Few of you. It's just a fancy term for this. You have trauma, you didn't heal it, and so you pass it on to your child. And then your child doesn't heal it, and they pass it on to their child. And then their child doesn't heal it, and they pass it on. We're passing on the rotten cheesecake. But it isn't cheesecake anymore, it's poison. Are you feeling what I'm saying? Because when we're traumatized and we don't heal from that, we traumatize our children. And we traumatize the people around us. She's bringing the Kleenex. It's interesting because when I was speaking in Brunei, like many years ago, I told a story that made like everybody cry. And so the next time I came, they had tissues inside of the bags they gave every person. I thought that was so funny. I'm not going to make you cry, inshallah. But I want to make you feel, and I want to make you think. I want to make you feel, and I want to make you think. And if it makes you cry, alhamdulillah, that's what prophets did. We need to get over this idea that sabr means not crying. That sabr means suppress. Lock up the cheesecake. MashaAllah, look at my sabr. I think I can pause there if we want to have enough time for questions. How am I doing with time? Can someone help me out? I have 5 minutes. MashaAllah. All right, I'm going to summarize something for you. Remember at the beginning of this talk, I said that pain is an inevitable part of life. Yeah? Were you there for that part? Okay. But suffering doesn't have to be. When does pain turn into suffering? That's what I want you to go home with, to realize. When does pain turn into suffering? Here's when it happens. Go back to the example of the fire alarm. So you're asleep in your bed, you hear the fire alarm. Do you guys have fire alarms in your house? Allahu Akbar. There's entire countries that have no fire alarms in their homes. So the fire alarm wakes you up from your sleep, and you want to figure out where's the fire, right? But let me ask you this question. Is a fire alarm a nice sound? Does anybody like the sound of a fire alarm? No. Your pain, listen carefully, your pain is like a fire alarm. Your pain is actually alerting you that there's a fire somewhere in your life, so fix it. Now that's deep. Meaning, your pain, which is going to come in different forms. So for some people, their fire alarm is depression. For some people, their fire alarm is anxiety that just doesn't go away, all consuming. But that is actually alerting you there's a problem that you need to address. The depression isn't the problem. The depression is